Hello, welcome back to JM Football. My name is Justin Penik. This is Dalton Feely. These are your NFL wild card power rankings. We did it. We made it. We're at the end of the season. We're going to watch some really good football for 3 days. Wild card weekend is personally, it is like my favorite weekend. Like, I will say, like, not the excitement of football doesn't go down, but I just think I love one of the great things about football is that you get volume of it, right?
Yeah.
And it's like so much volume. And
in one day for the most part.
Yeah, and they spread it out to 3 days now because the NFL, they love to make money. So it's Saturday, Sunday, and Monday now. I'm even really excited for that Bucs-Eagles game. I think the Bucs are going to win. Hey-o.
Spoiler alert.
We'll talk about it. But Dalton, let's get into it. We have Caleb-Williams-Ville.
Carolina Panthers, 32.
Carolina Panthers
and they're not going to get them.
Thank you, next.
Shout out Ariana Grande.
The Commanders are at 31. The Patriots are at 30. The Chargers are at 29. The Cardinals are at 28. The Jets at 27. The Giants at 26. And the Titans at 25. We're going to be kind of quick with all of these teams because there's a lot of teams that we kind of want to touch on. We're going to be talking about basically the non-playoff teams for the last time, unless we're on the mic and we're talking through like head coach hires or GM hires.
Exactly.
Yeah. So but I don't even know how much they would change in power rankings if somebody does that.
They go up 10 slots because they got the best
because you got a GM because you hired the assistant GM from the Colts.
Ed Dodds. Hey now.
Yeah, you never know. I want to talk about Commanders, Patriots, Titans, because it seems like, and even the Falcons are the team that's 24th in the you won't make the playoffs, but you're not shitty. So here, I'll just give away that spot because the Falcons are kind of included in this. What's Bill Belichick's future?
This is very interesting because on Black Monday, it's like usually the time where head coaches get fired, but he hasn't gotten fired yet. He hasn't resigned yet. If he was to move on, I don't think he's getting fired. I think they mutually agree to part ways. They're not going to say breaking news, Belichick fired.
He's also under contract. So you can imagine that maybe the Patriots want something similar to what the Saints did with Sean Payton, and you want compensation back.
Interesting. That never crossed my mind because I thought it's either the Pats are done with him and they're just going to let him go, or they're going to retain him and have him just not be player personnel. He's strictly the head coach, and they hire a guy like Dave Ziegler, who was the Raiders general manager with Darren McDaniels when they got hired together, who just got fired this season. He might go back to a place like New England and have the reins of their player personnel operation.
It's like, well, if you're a team like the Falcons, who, it's been rumored that they're all on board. If you're a team like the Commanders, but with new ownership, and you have the draft capital, then, like, if this is the coach that you want, even if it's just for a few years, then do it.
Right.
You know what I mean? But also, I can imagine, like, is that, between Kraft and Belichick, is trading the coach and that process, would that fracture a relationship? Is that a pain in the ass? Or do you just to agree, like you said, all right, we're going to part ways and we're going to move on. But if I'm the Patriots and this guy, and the greatest coach in NFL history is still under contract for me, and he's going to be a highly sought after guy, then do it. And my issue with Belichick isn't that I don't think he's a good coach. My issue with Belichick is I think he's a terrible GM.
Yes.
I think he's a terrible drafter.
And we've seen in recent years, he can't draft a receiver for the life of him.
No,
in general.
And here's the thing. I think McDaniels should go back to Belichick. And I immediately feel better about any team where if it's McDaniels running the offense, when's the last time Mac Jones looked good?
He was okay his rookie year, but not.
He looked good for a rookie quarterback.
He was good in the rookie year.
With no expectations. Oh, this white guy from Alabama that can't really move and do much. He was throwing some good footballs, and he's gotten a lot worse. And it was Josh McDaniels as his offensive coordinator. So I just want to talk about that. And even the Titans are an interesting team to maybe watch as this Bill Belichick sweepstakes maybe heat up a little bit.
It would be interesting to see in the world if Vrabel leaves or gets fired. We haven't heard any news about that yet. Maybe something happens before we release.
But a GM and a head coach are off cycle.
They're off cycle. It would be interesting, just a little hypothetical out there. If Belichick was to leave New England, job opens up. I could totally see Robert Kraft making that call to Mike Vrabel. Vrabel played there, obviously has the ties to New England, and that could be a job where Vrabel's like, you know what? I'm off cycle with Rand Carthon, the general manager of the Titans, who just got hired last year. Let's go back home take over for Bill, be the predecessor, or what's the term? Predecessor of Bill? I don't know English, but I think Vrabel, the only way Vrabel leaves on his own is if he's going to New England, in my opinion.
I was checking to see if Carthon, I'm pretty sure, has ties to New England.
Oh, I knew he was a Niner. I know he worked with the Niners for a little while.
I very much could be wrong. He was a running back for the Colts for 2 years.
Oh, I did not know that.
Did you know that?
I did not know that. See,
I basically feel like if you're a brass from Tennessee or if you're a brass from New England, I feel like
you have ties together.
You're like automatically tied. I very much could be wrong on that. So fact check me on that. All right, so that's Bill Belichick. Let's move to the won't make the playoffs, but you're not shitty. So congratulations, the Falcons.
Yep,
they're 24 for a reason, and you're close to thank you next for a reason. That was very gracious of us.
Thank gosh Art Smith got fired.
To not put us in thank you next. So we have the Vikings at 23, the Broncos at 22. I'm going to say this really quick. Sean Payton's an asshole.
Why? Wait, why?
Sean Payton's an asshole. Dude, you could think that, hey, the players don't like Russ, and Russ clearly has his own issues too. And I know this happened like 2 weeks ago, but we didn't talk about it. I think he did him dirty. I think for Russ, who had a solid season, did everything that they asked him to do. And I'll tell you what, the offense that they ran with Russ this year with check down Charlie, low average depth of target, low turnovers, that's not an offense that was far apart, I'm pretty sure, from what Drew Brees did his last couple years. So you can't. Oh, Sean Payton wants to air it out more, and he wants to create more explosives, and he just doesn't want to check it down. Well, the last couple years of Sean Payton in the NFL doesn't necessarily tell me anything different. Obviously, Drew Brees in his prime, slinging it across the yard, right?
That's the counter I would give is that, Drew Brees was much older than Russell Wilson is currently. And that's the biggest question is like if you bring in a younger quarterback or, rookie quarterback who has maybe a stronger arm or you have more trust in. Because I think trust is the biggest issue. In Russ, we trust. Obviously, Sean Payton did not because he didn't let him err. It was very much check down Charlie, very vanilla concepts between the two.
Yeah. Well, I think that was kind of assholey. I'm not behind the scenes. I don't know what's going on. I'm not a Broncos fan. But from the outside looking in, it just very looked to be a little bit like an asshole where the Broncos had a better year than what people were predicting.
Yeah. Oh, after coming back from Hackett? Absolutely.
Yeah. And if they win that New England game, you're not benching Russ.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Because if you're still in the playoff hunt after that New England game you lose on Christmas Eve, you're still in the hunt, you're going to play Russ.
Yeah.
Who cares about the money? If you have a shot to make the playoffs, you're not benching him. And if they did, oh my gosh, could you imagine the outrage that would have gone on in Denver?
Even though were they even mathematically eliminated then? They were mathematically. All right, so that's different. Because sometimes you could be eliminated, but you're not mathematically eliminated.
It was either mathematically or like they had a point something percent. Like it was very slim.
Still, man, as a player in that locker room, no matter how I feel about Russell Wilson, I think I would feel a particular kind of way about that. But I know, you could just see on TV, Russell Wilson would get sacked and those offensive linemen are looking at him on the ground like he's a dead piece of meat. So you could sense that there's something going on there.
Yeah.
The Raiders are at 21. Antonio Pierce, that's a hot topic in the streets. The Bears are at 20. The Bengals are 19. Playoffs, you're not there.
Nope. Could have been there, not there.
You're close. The Seahawks are at 18. The Colts are at 17. Oof, that's tough. The Saints at 16. The Jaguars at 15. We were right about the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I had a little bit of a bias saying it, but then when you confirmed it earlier in the year with me, like they're not as good as we thought.
Yeah.
We had them. We thought, Penik said earlier in the year, like he thought that's a team, Lawrence could take that step up and become a potential MVP candidate. This offense could be one of the best in football. The defense early in the year with Mike Caldwell had played really good to start the year. I think they had like 16 turnovers the first 4 games, like something ridiculous in that category. Mike Caldwell gets fired because the defense falls apart. Lawrence gets hurt. They go from 8-3 in week 12 to 9-8, lose the division. They don't make the playoffs. And they had a 99% chance after week 12 to make the playoffs. This is an embarrassing choke.
Oh, they were in the second seed, weren't they?
They were the second seed. They're fighting for the 1 seed. This is one of the most embarrassing chokes we've seen in the 21st century of a team. Because you were 8-3. You had a commanding lead in the division with 3 teams either starting a rookie quarterback in the beginning of the year or had to start a rookie quarterback at some point in the year. And you don't win that division having that type of lead. It's crazy. The Colts did it in 2021 in Jacksonville. They lose to Jacksonville the final week of the season to lose the division. That was a choke job because they lost the first Raiders and first Jaguars. This year, arguably worse, from 8-3 to 9-8.
Yeah. And it's very funny how you're looking at that that Week 18 matchup against the Titans, and you're like, I think they're going to lose. Like I think they are going to lose.
You said it to me, and I said to you, I thought Jacksonville would because they had something to play for. Apparently, Vrabel got his guys going, got King Henry going in his potential last game in Tennessee. Unbelievable that Jacksonville lost that game.
And we got a lot of flack, and you're not talking about Jacksonville enough. You're disrespecting Jacksonville in your rankings, and it came from a place of I had these preseason expectations. I put $5 to win 80 on Trevor Lawrence to win MVP this year. And I'm thinking, Calvin Ridley's going to come in here and be a wide receiver one and really, and be a wide receiver one. He may not be one of the best receivers in the league, but when you pair him with, like an Evan Engram and, Zay Jones and then Christian Kirk, when you pair them with the rest of those guys, it's like, this could be a really good unit altogether. And I thought Calvin Ridley was going to elevate really everybody. And, Lawrence got hurt and Lawrence battled through those injuries, but man, when he got hurt, it was really bad quarterback play. And, Bobby Skinner talked about it from the beginning of the year about his ability to deal with pressure and throw under pressure. And you have to do that in the NFL. And the defense wasn't carrying them throughout the entirety of the year. So we were right about the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't even want to say I'm disappointed with them because I was disappointed with them in October, November. This is just the reality of what their season was like.
Yep.
Dalton, we're making a new category.
Yeah, I thought this was so funny when we talked about this yesterday.
You made it to the dance. You made it to the postseason. So the rest of these, 14 teams are in the postseason. You made it to the dance.
Yep.
But you don't have a hot date.
Yeah, I mean, it's like basically we're saying
you're with the boys.
You're there. You're hanging out with the dudes, but like
your dance circle is a sausage party.
You want to,
or you don't have a hot date. And these three teams are.
I was gonna say they were not gonna have a shot to make it to Lombardi Land. Like they had no shot to make the. No. You went right to sausage party. Now I'm thinking of the movie with Seth Rogen, and it's jeez.
I watched that recently.
There's no way you watched that recently.
Yeah, recently I was like, I'm gonna watch this animated movie where they have lots of sex. Spoiler alert.
Power rankings.
Spoiler alert if you didn't see it. Steelers at 14.
Yep.
Definitely don't have a hot date.
No.
The Bucks at 13. The Eagles at 12. The Eagles are a disaster.
And it's funny we have Eagles and Bucks next to each other because they're playing each other. One of them has to win this week.
What's the line?
What?
Yesterday.
Do I have to guess?
Yesterday. All right, you guess because you don't know. I looked at it yesterday. I want to see if it changed.
I'll say Philly -4, and I don't feel good about that because Philly's played bad. If Tampa's favored, I'm not too shocked.
No.
Philly has to be favored.
It's a Tampa home game.
I still think Philly's -4.
-3.
Okay.
So on a even field, neutral field, it's even.
No.
I'm sorry. It's -6.
Yes. Close.
Math.
Math pod.
I know Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, Eagles and Bucks. Sponsored by. No, listen. Eagles and Bucks are going to be interesting Monday night. Potential that we're going to be streaming that. What?
Bucks are going to win this game.
Yeah? You're on.
Now, I understand, like that offense has fallen off. Like, we kind of mushed them where you're like, Baker Mayfield, and then 9-0 against the Panthers in a game that they didn't need to win.
Yeah.
So I understand the last couple weeks that Baker and that offense hasn't looked good, but that Philly defense is terrible. They're terrible.
And they're hurt right now. Offensively, like that defense is
Jalen Hurts' middle finger.
Yeah, flipping off.
He flipped off everybody. Yeah. On Sunday against the Giants. Very rude of him. Not rude. A role model.
Very rude. And you have A.J. Brown getting hurt that game. Devontae Smith didn't play week 18 because he was also hurt. So you have your top two pass catchers hurt. Swift didn't play. Was he sick?
He was sick.
He was sick, right? Yeah.
So you get better.
So Kenny Gainwell's looked pretty good too. But I am worried about the Eagles. The one thing I will say about the Bucs, their offense has taken a downturn after we gave them hype. Apparently, when we give teams hype, they just want like, you know what? We're done. We did what we had to do. We got praise from Dalton Justin. Now we can fucking.
So you can blame me for the Jaguars' fault because that was August and September that I was happy about. That I was excited. So,
but the Bucs defense over the last 3 weeks, they've allowed the fewest points per game, which is a really good feat, and they've allowed the lowest touchdown percentage drive in the red zone at 33% this season. Which give credit to Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles' defense playing good. Late in the season, I, for one, am not shocked by that whatsoever. You're seeing guys contribute, whether it's their linebackers with White and Levante David, Yaya Diaby, your boy, how about it? Joe Chian-Sharanka, like, of course, Antoine Winfield Jr. They have guys at all levels of this unit, on this defensive unit, that can make plays against Philly, and it could be a potential upset even though they're home.
And I'm watching what Wink Martindale did against the Eagles were trying. They were trying to win. Now, eventually they pull Hurts. His middle finger's fucked up, and they're losing 24-0. They were trying to win that game. They really were. I'm looking at what Wink Martindale did the week before and how the Eagles have no semblance of a quick game. They have no. It used to kind of be like Devontae Smith, but even like Devontae Smith had a good year, but it wasn't like a lot of the attention went to AJ Brown, and you look at the old, like we do an all JM team.
Yep.
I think it's coming out today, later in the day, or it's
Tomorrow.
coming out. It's coming out eventually.
Yeah.
So just keep an eye out for that. And AJ Brown, honorable mention. AJ Brown made that all JM team at various points throughout the year that we would put that out. But you could also make the argument that the over-reliance on AJ Brown has hurt the Eagles offense because that ball's not going to Devontae Smith in the quick game on early downs. That's a theory that I have. Like AJ Brown, historically great season, but that Eagles offense was way more balanced last year, and it included Devontae Smith more.
Goddard.
They don't have they have a slot receiver. I think it's Quez Watkins. They don't throw the ball.
Quez Watkins, right? Yeah.
I think he had like a touchdown or something, this past week against the Giants, but they don't throw the ball to him. That's when Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown were not in the game. They don't throw the ball. Usually your slot receiver is that guy that kind of moves the chains for you. They don't utilize their slot guy.
Yeah, and to answer your question, they have 5 guys with at least 35 targets or more. Or actually, if you want to go 25 or more, it's Brown, Smith, Goddard, Swift, and Gainwell. So 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and 2 running backs. Quez Watkins has 21 targets on the year.
Yeah.
Basically 1 per game.
Yeah, so I think the Bucs are going to upset the Philadelphia Eagles, and I don't even know how much of an upset that is.
Based on how bad Phillies play, this is a crazy downfall. I'm still torn. I'm leaning Bucs, but I don't know. Sorry.
You're leaning Bucs or Eagles?
I'm leaning Bucs.
Oh, okay.
But I'll make my announcement later on, either on Twitter or on Instagram at some point.
Playoffs, you're there.
You did it, and you got a decent date. You got a shot.
You have a date.
You got a date.
You have a date. Oh man, the Packers. 11.
They're hot.
I would have maybe said you made it to the dance, but don't have a hot date.
No, I strongly disagree. They're hot, Pop.
Their defense is. Joe Barry. Sorry,
their offense is good.
Their offense is good.
It's gonna be. They have a tough matchup. That's gonna be interesting.
But Cowboys is probably the toughest matchup that they could possibly face.
They play them well historically. Like they beat them last year in Lambeau.
Yeah,
there's a chance. Continue.
Dallas home game. Texans 10. Rams 9, Chiefs 8, Browns 7, Dolphins 6, Lions 5, Cowboys 4, Bills 3. Guess what? Only 2 teams in Lombardi Land.
Wow. I think that's the fewest we've had all year.
Yeah.
And it's for a reason. Listen, this is an interesting group. I think this is the year where it's not the most obvious, like for Lombardi Land. Like there's not many clear-cut options. I think there's a couple, which we obviously haven't mentioned yet. But like you could see the Rams going into Detroit, beating Detroit, and then going on a run.
I think they're going to.
And they could. And
What's that line?
It's very reasonable. Texans can win at home versus Cleveland. I don't think there's a game that I'm obviously saying, oh yeah, this team is going to win, outside of Buffalo to Pitt. If the Steelers win, this is the wonkiest year, I think, in football in the last at least decade. Could you imagine that?
Steelers are at plus 10 right now.
Yeah, I like that. That's the only game I think that I'm obviously taking Buffalo. Like I really have to consider the rest of these games, man. The Steelers are hot too. I don't trust them. I can't trust Pittsburgh, but they've won their last 3, and they're starting to run the ball again. I don't know.
No, stop.
I did stop. I don't know. I don't know.
All right, there's only one week 18 game that I do want to talk about, and this is Texans Colts. I'm sorry.
It's Aussie rules season. Go Sydney Swans. We're done with football. Sorry.
We don't even have to talk about the Colts because it's been talked about enough. Credit to you, by the way. We had a conversation on the show about Gardner Minshew versus Anthony Richardson, and how can the nation not watch that game and be like, man, I kind of wish Anthony Richardson was in this game because that would have been a much more fun quarterback to watch. And even if he missed a couple throws like Gardner Minshew did, he would have at least made other positive, fun, explosive plays to maybe put them in a position to win. Gardner Minshew really did lose them that game because you had the first drive of the game, Dalton, where
touchdown,
the wheel route out of the backfield. First of all, Gardner Minshew, nice little pump fakes that he's doing, and I think the pump fake he pumped fake, I think, to the running back, looked elsewhere, and then maybe like even went back with his eyes. And
I'm pretty sure that was Goodson too.
They were in zone. It was a bad throw. That was a bad throw.
The first one, oh yeah, but I also think that was Goodson, ironically.
The one at the end of the game,
Bad throw, should have been
it's
caught.
on both. So let me ask you this. You're a Colts fan. Is Goodson their receiving back?
Towards the end of the year. Like, he hadn't, earlier in the year, he wasn't really playing as much.
Because everybody's talking about Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss, where it's like, okay, well, do those guys, like, are they good hands catchers? Do they catch the balls? Is Goodson the receiving back?
If I had to put money on, if you're throwing the ball 10 times at each of the running backs, who's going to catch the ball the most, I would say it would be Goodson. But I don't think it's drastically, like, Taylor coming out of Wisconsin, like, it was like they didn't throw the ball as much to him. He's not able to catch. But he's been able to make some plays with his hands. It's not like he's going to be able to run routes out of the backfield. Like, Goodson's better in that aspect, where I think he's more fluid runner running routes. But I do want to say this, Justin, about that play. I'm a big player over play guy. Mm-hmm. Have your best players out there. That said, Shane Steichen called up a play, and it worked perfectly. They got the look they want. Goodson has the first down. He's got wide open. And Gardner Minshew, if you look back on that throw, I'm going to quote Sam Darnold here, he's seeing ghost because he's fading away as if he's thrown against pressure, and there's no one near him, and which makes the ball go behind Goodson. Goodson has to try to adjust his body, doesn't. Incomplete pass, game over.
Yeah.
But ultimately, sucks. What a game. I mean, the Colts...
It's a good game.
Colts kick a field goal, nice little drive to start the game, and Nico Collins, 75-yard touchdown first play. Yeah. Classic. What a call by...
What are those safety? It was number 20?
Nick Scott.
Oh, my God. He needed to be launched into the sun. Took a bad angle.
You and Bobby both said that, which was very funny. And I agree. Colts fans have said it all year. No Julian Blackmon killed him that game.
But it's also the power. I mean, so let's transition to the Texans.
Yeah.
That first play, that first offensive play of the game for the Texans.
Yeah.
The power of play action. The power of, that was a 10-man protection. And I think the tight end or the running back, one of those guys eventually kind of like leaked out as like a check down. Sure. But it was a 10-man protection and 9-man. I don't know. Math. Numbers.
8 or 9 man.
8 or 9. Because you have quarterback on the field who's throwing the ball. 2 guys were running routes down the field. That was it.
Yes.
One of them was Nico Collins. And it's the power of play action, and it's also the power of being aggressive. And that's what that Texans team is. And I'm trying to lip read Chris Rose right now and look at the captions because Chris, I should actually just play it. I might as well play it. Why not? CJ Stroud is the third quarterback. Let's listen. Chris Rose brought up a stat, and I want to play it.
Okay.
It's the third quarterback in the last 50 seasons to lead the NFL in passing yards per game and touchdown to interception ratio. You ready for the other two? Joe Montana in 1989. Tom Brady in 2007, the year they had the perfect regular season. You are being mentioned with not only guys in the same breath, but guys in their peak, maybe the peak season of their respective careers.
And I mean he's a rookie.
And he's a rookie.
CJ Stroud's a rookie, and he's doing these things. And it's just so impressive that you have those big plays, and you're avoiding the negative plays of taking sacks, taking sacks, and not throwing interceptions. And not taking sacks in the postseason is so key because you have teams, game plans, everything is amplified. Talent is amplified. And if CJ Stroud is going to navigate the pocket, go through his progressions, get rid of the ball when he needs to get rid of the ball, live to fight another down, that will keep the Texans alive.
Yeah, the one thing I ask about the Texans when they play the Browns on Saturday, first game of the playoffs, 4:30 p.m. Eastern time. Hey, now, please let Stroud cook because the Browns have struggled. The Texans have struggled running the ball this year. Singletary has had a quietly good season. He almost ran for 900 yards. But listen, they had the second fewest first down rushing percentage in football this year. So that means they were not gaining first downs by running the ball. No. Let Stroud cook. Hopefully their pass catchers get healthy again. Robert Woods would be a big piece coming back in that game. I know Nico Collins is still the dog. Dalton Schultz is probably the number 2 option. No Tank Dell has been big, but let them throw the ball.
Yeah, you can't help but feel like you were watching that Colts Texans game. It's like CJ Stroud's doing so well, but they are running the ball a lot on early downs, and it's just not really going anywhere. So I 100% agree. Now it's tough, man. They've had a lot of players go down. Like they've had Tank Dell go down. Nico Collins was really the only receiver that you can really, really rely on. Dalton Schultz has obviously had a good year as well, but it has been an issue all year where it's let him throw in early downs.
Noah Brown.
Set yourself up for success on the later downs or even just avoid third down altogether. And they've created those explosive plays. So that Texans-Browns game, We'll be live on JM Football for all 3 games, or for all 2 games on Saturday, and I'm glad that is one of the games that we are live for because I really want to lock into that. The Rams are facing the Detroit Lions in a Matt Stafford reunion game.
It's Stafford versus the Lions. It's McVay versus Goff. I think the one thing about the narrative of this game that no one really talks about, it's Stafford Lions, and that's the first thing I think of, and I think rightfully so. I think that's the bigger story of the two. But the second story, it's the McVay-Goff relationship. I don't know if people remember, but that marriage, it ended in a messy divorce where McVay basically came out and said afterwards, like, yeah, I didn't treat Goff well towards the end. Like we needed a change. We needed to get somebody else in here. And I think McVay went to the extent of saying, I feel bad for how I treated him towards the end, which is saying something on the relationship of how it ended in LA. This is a team, the 2 guys went to the Super Bowl in 2018 versus the Patriots. What I'm really excited about is red zone offense, right? We're going into that red zone offense.
Yeah.
Rams, highest red zone touchdown scoring drive when they are in the red zone on the road this year. So when they get in the red zone on the road, they have the highest percentage of touchdowns in the NFL. Lions, second highest touchdown percentage in the red zone at home this season. So both these teams, Rams like scoring in the red zone on the road. Lions are good at home. Offense on offense. A little Ben Johnson versus Sean McVay calling plays. Woo! It's going to be a fun one. I think this is the game I'm the most excited about.
Yeah, for sure. Sunday, 8:15 p.m., we're going to be live for that on JM Football. I said specifically, so I want to be live for this game.
Yep.
LA Rams plus 3.5.
I think I would take the Rams. Rams are on the road, plus 3.5. So basically, it's almost a plus 0.5 spread.
Yeah.
I think I'm Rams.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Why am I down on the Lions? Because I kind of am. Hey, I see you see some comments like, oh, get a Lions fan. And I'm like, you know what? You're kind of right. For one of the best play callers, offensive play callers in the NFL.
Absolutely.
They do have talented players up and down. They have a pretty good defensive line that likes to generate pressures. I've been a little critical about, you got to finish those into sacks, and that's really important in the postseason.
Absolutely.
You have one of the best offensive lines in the National Football League. You have, a crop of skill position players with Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's a slot outside guy who's one of the league's best receivers, with even the other guys that they have. I really saw them, light up the Giants, in the joint practices this past summer. And I'll tell you, I think my theory is that, speaking of Jared Goff, I just don't fully believe it.
You don't believe in Goff?
I like him. I think he's a good quarterback, but I think when you get down to it in the postseason, and you want to talk about can the Lions win a Super Bowl, right? Every year, odds are who's playing in the Super Bowl. Usually, maybe Jimmy Garoppolo is the one exception. 2 top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL every year. That's who winds up making the Super Bowl.
Yeah, for the most part. I totally get that. Goff's a win with, not win because of, is basically what you're saying, right?
Yeah, and I think that's why it's like, Matt Stafford making bananas throws as we've gotten closer to the second half of the year. I think that's why I lean towards Rams a little bit more.
I think I'm with you about leaning towards the Rams, but it's a little bit of a different reason. I'm worried about the Lions' defense just a little bit.
Yes, and that's also partially
against the pass.
For me
they're
too.
27th in passing yards, 27th in passing touchdowns allowed, 29th in passing yards per attempt. That scares me a little bit for how efficient the McVay and Stafford offense has been in the passing game. You have Kupp and Nakua facing a really young Detroit secondary, which has made some plays in the last couple of weeks. Ife Melifano, Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph. Sure, I get it. But I think the Rams passing attack could be way too much to handle.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Puka Nakua and Cooper Kupp, you saw what Dallas was able to do. That secondary with CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks. And I would say, the pair of those two is better than what Dallas has. And I would even give the nod, even though Mike McCarthy's been a really good play caller this year, I would give the offensive nod to McVay.
Okay.
I'm excited to watch that game. We didn't talk about Lombardi Land. 49ers 2, Ravens 1.
They're on bye, so we don't even have to talk. We'll talk more about them next week
We'll talk more about them next week. I wanted to talk about the Bills a little bit, but they're playing the Steelers, so I honestly think they're going to win, and we'll talk about all these matchups next week. I do want
to give you one quick question before we go. We talked about Puka Nakua. We talked about C.J. Stroud. Who's the offensive rookie of the year?
I would have said Puka, before Week 18.
If the Texans didn't win the division.
If the Texans didn't win the division, not even if the Texans didn't have that kind of performance on national television.
Okay.
In that, you know what, that game did mean more because you knew the Jaguars lost. No, I'm sorry.
No,
you didn't know.
First.
All right, I'm sorry, but
it was a win and in.
It meant a lot on that Saturday night because it was a win and in. So the moment, forget division or what, you want to get into the dance.
Got to get into the dance and be in it.
So the fact that it was national television, everybody's watching that Saturday night. If you lose, you're done. If you win, you're in.
Yeah.
I'm now leaning Stroud.
I would love for it to be a co-offensive rookie of the year because I can't discredit either of the.
No.
Puka Nacua has set records.
Historically good.
Rookie
CJ
receiving.
Stroud has set records, but don't ignore that Puka Nacua has also set records.
And I think both should get it. I think it's going to go to Stroud because of what the turnaround for the Texans. But I think in a world where we're such quarterback-heavy, award-driven league, that was not English. In a war, I want to give credit to Nacua because he's had a historic season as a rookie receiver.
I agree. Dalton, we will see you. Dalton, I'll see you next week. I'm going to put you in a box, and you're going away. We'll see you next week. We'll talk about the playoffs, and it'll be an NFL divisional power rankings feature. We'll see you next week. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace.